Icenine is an original first-person shooter for the Game Boy Advance with an interesting backstory.
Icenine would be developed by Taurus Games, with Icenine being their third and final first-person shooter title for the Game Boy Advance. Icenine would be built using an original engine of Taurus Games, which was previously used to make Doom 2 and Duke Nukem Advance. Icenine was originally going to be called The Recruit, and would have been a tie-in to the Colin Farrell movie coming out around the same time. After the movie didn't do as well as they anticipated, however, they ended up cutting all ties with it, such as changing the game's name to Icenine and altering a few things about the plot. Another interesting detail about this game's past is that there was actually plans to make a version for the PlayStation 2 as well, but unfortunately that would end up getting cancelled.
Now that we've talked about Icenine's past, though, let's talk about the game itself.
Icenine has you play as Tom Carter, an undercover CIA agent who is framed by his mentor, Michael Kurtz, a traitor to the CIA who plans on stealing the Icenine computer virus.
Why does Michael Kurtz want this Icenine virus? Who knows? That's not important.
What is important is that Icenine takes place over 18 different missions.
Holy shit.
The levels take place across a variety of different kinds of areas, with you usually being given a list of objectives to accomplish, such as taking down a certain number of enemies, getting your hands on a certain item or keycard, or having a limited amount of time to pull off the mission. Icenine's levels usually have a tactical element to them, having you use particular gadgets, weapons, or strategies to successfully pull off the mission. The weapons themselves actually feel pretty decent to use, with all 7 of them feeling fairly different from each other and each serving their own purpose. As for the enemies, I would say that they're fairly balanced, with them being fairly simple but also being able to put up a decent challenge, especially later in the game.
There are 2 major issues, though, that Icenine has, and contrary to what many reviews say, neither of them are the level design.
The first major issue is that the first 3 levels of Icenine are, by all accounts, unnecessary, overcomplicated tutorials that teach you about the game's mechanics, some of which aren't even used in the later levels. Let me give you an example. Throughout about a third of Icenine's levels, you will encounter civilians, harmless NPCs who carry no weapons and are not hostile. In the tutorial missions, shooting a civilian or even getting spotted by one will result in an immediate mission failure. But in the actual field missions, majority of the time you are required to shoot them with your gun, that is, I kid you not, loaded with memory erasing tranquilizer bullets. There are many other examples of bad player conveyance, such as in this one level where I had to disable the lights in order to not get spotted by security cameras, only to then get spotted anyway. Another issue with Icenine is that a lot of its missions require you to take down every enemy before you can leave the level, or give you a time limit to complete an objective. And in some darn cases, you have to do both. I failed a mission more than once just because I ran out of time while trying to find all the enemies on the map, making this feel more like an elaborate game of hide and seek. And while I didn't struggle with this problem personally, Icenine also has a mechanic where if you don't get a high enough score in its levels, you have to restart them over again. Icenine is a very impressive shooter for the Game Boy Advance. It runs well, it looks great, and it's decently fun to play when you're not being timed. And despite all the issues that I mentioned, I still had fun playing it. And most of the issues that I mentioned about Icenine, people don't even know about, because half the time they never played that far. And the biggest reason Icenine failed isn't even because of its issues. It's because it came out in 2005 when the Game Boy Advance was no longer the big boy on the block. The Nintendo DS was the big thing now, and with it, Metroid Prime Hunter's demo was showing a lot more potential than anything the Game Boy Advance was capable of.